experience. And that's been my experience, you see, of this life.
The way I interpret some of what you're saying too is that it's like the dragon convinces you that when it incinerates you, you're gone. You know, and
right.
it's that realization by having gone through it in a sense, in a linear ego sense, that you realize, wait a second, no, I surrendered in a sense to the dragon, and something is still here,
Yes.
and all the other stuff that I thought would be incinerated somehow reconstitutes. You know, somehow it comes back together.
Yes.
There's a pattern in the universe that is,
yes,
whatever is essentially me, that has the blueprint to put me back together again when it needs to. But I can let go and let it all explode when it's right, when the time is right. So.
Yeah. One of the metaphors that I use often is the during the spiritual process, our egos and our identities are out here and awareness is back here. And then they draw together, you get more aware, your awareness gets forward, closer to ego, and then they flip. And so what happens is and that flip feels like an incineration. Like you think you're going to lose it all.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. What happens, all that happens is ego is then in the back seat. And ego's still here, you know. Ego's still here. Except it's not in control anymore like it used to be. It's not ruining shit. Like it's not miserable.
Right.
You know, it's not like I don't have a sense of being a separate woe is me, I'm depressed ego. But I do have my asshole ego is still here. You know, I'm still an idiot. I still got that part of my character that can put its foot in its mouth and do stupid things and hurt people and be wrong about shit. So that's the thing. We're in spirituality, man. We're sold this bill of goods of lovey-dovey heart, God,
right.
enlightenment. All those words suck. They suck because what they do is they falsely build up an idea of what it's supposed to be.
Yep.
And that's a perfect wall of ego and illusion that most people don't pass through. They just they get involved in spirituality and they bump up against that wall, and that's it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
You know, but if you can let those things go, and I always like to say this, if you can find the shittiest, lowest value, crappiest quality enlightenment you can, available aisle 13 at Walmart, get that. That's the one to get.
Yeah.
That one's real.
Yeah.
That one's real. And then as far as your characters is concerned and your destiny as a human being, buy that one first, get the shittiest version at Walmart and see where it leads you. Because other people, you see, they're shopping at the $1 million spiritual store at the base of the Himalayas in India.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where they think that they want the best, highest priced enlightenment that they can get. And they never get it. It's a carrot that they're fooled, that is constantly being told that they can get that, you know. And when you settle for the shittiest, lowest, crappiest version of this, that lo and behold, hey man,
there it is.
There it is.
I heard somebody say it's like somebody stealing your watch out of your pocket and selling it back to you. You know, it's like it's all there. You know, it's like you have it, and so I love what you said about the Walmart thing. It really is. Then once you've gone in that door, then you have the awareness to find the other doors that have value and meaning.
You know, and I think that's a lot of what we do here too, is validating our imperfections and validating our flaws and invalidating our wounds and our pains. And to me, man, when I got involved in spirituality, my particular teacher, his organization was called Waking Down, as opposed to waking up.
Right.
because waking up implies all the lovey-dovey and the God and the spirit and the rainbows and the puppy dogs. Waking down means you're going to meet some fucking dragons. And the waking down says you're going to go buy your enlightenment at the shittiest Walmart store in West Virginia. You know,
Yeah.
that's you know, and that's what really, really helped me is to.
It almost, it's like if you can't find it there, what's the point? You know, it really does seem like a lot of the more lovey-dovey stuff is an attempt to escape, an attempt to fly over the clouds.
Yeah.
And that's good. That'll work sometimes when you can, but like you said, it's that time where you just gotta be like, you know what? And because I think it's, you know, that's why I'm handling this, you know, like I said at the beginning, my wife said, oh my God, I'm so impressed with how you're handling this. I said, well, it's like, I know that, you know, I had to get this tooth pulled. I mean, it's not, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big thing, but of course, in that moment, it was everything, you know, and it's like my anxiety made it everything. But it's like, yeah, I know I have to deal with this, and I know I have to go through this shit, you know, and I know it's going to suck, and it really did suck for, you know, a couple seconds, but it's like I have a new perception that the enlightenment is in that as much as it's in disconnecting from that. You know, it can't throw out the baby with the bathwater, you know, to use the old cliche.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think that's what we're all trying to do. Those of us who are on I think really all human beings, we're
all searching for something.
Yeah, we just, you know, I don't know if happiness is the right word, but we want to be seen, we want to be loved, we want to know, we want to have some sort of level of fulfillment. You know, we're all looking for that. And the way that I have gnawed on that bone in this life and actually discovered some meat was indeed through this process of finding the one thing that was already happy, finding the one thing that was already okay, finding to use Jed McKenna's word, to finding the one thing that was true, and I stick with that. You know, the one thing that seems to be true beyond our fears and our limitations and whatnot, is this awareness, is this one single consciousness, that paradoxically then turns around and embraces all of the muck. That is okay with all of our flaws, and is okay with, you know, our emotions and our ups and downs and our pain and our suffering. And that's the really weird thing about it, is the paradox of that.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about it.
Well, you spend so much time and energy trying to escape everything, you know, avoid things, you know, avoid the uncomfortableness and destination happiness or whatever that is. And, you know, it's sold to us on a daily basis with what we see on TV and stuff like that. And I was chasing that. I was, you know, again, to reiterate, I was looking for a place where I didn't get mad or I didn't have unhappiness. And by avoiding day-to-day life led me on paths I shouldn't have gone on. But those paths have brought me back to where I'm at today. I am who I am today because of what I've done. And it's learning to be okay. We've been saying it the whole time. It's learning to be okay with where we're at now, because this is the reality, and growing here.
I think of my teaching as like a fractal microcosm of what you just said, Robert, because like my focus is special education. I do a lot of team teaching, you know, where it's general education and special education teachers are in the same room. That's the way they do it in New York State now for the most part. So when I see a student who has a learning disability, or who's labeled with learning disability, because I have a lot of students who aren't labeled who benefit from the same things. One of the things that you learn, and you learn it in the beginning, but you don't grok it until you're actually doing it, is, let's say a student is just, example like dyslexic, right? I'm not going to cure dyslexia in that student in the course of a school year. The only thing I can do is accept that it's there and work through it. You find ways to work through it, to work around it, to work over it. It's something that's there, it's in the cards, and that evolution is going to be a lot slower, and I have to accept that. And the only way out is through, and you teach the student how to transcend, for lack of a better word, whatever that limitation is, because then you learn, I'm in year 15 now, right? So it's like, then you learn, okay, by doing that, I'm learning strategies that all students, because everybody, whether they're labeled dyslexic or not, everybody's going to have that. There's going to be something that gets, quote unquote, in the way. And it ends up being like a metaphor for life, because it's like, we don't change it by avoiding it. We change it by diving into it. And so that's, I'm sorry. Yeah.
You turn your flaws into features.
Yeah.
That is a magnificent superpower.
And you can't do that until you face it.
Yeah.
Avoid it, the longer it's going to stay there, and it's just going to keep, it's going to be harder and harder to do it.
That's right. Well, that's what I learned to do that as a writer. I was like, because who am I? What am I doing here? What are my flaws? Well, I'm not going to be the next great American novelist. I'm not that. I'm just not that. I'm sarcastic, and I'm funny, and I use far too many curse words. Those are some flaws that I have there when it comes to writing. Well, I just turned those into features.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
You're reaching people that weren't reached by the other tradition.
So that's I think that's very true of spirituality. You have to do that. You have to take your flaws and love them. That's what we're talking about here. You really have to be okay with them, accept them, because a lot of our flaws are buried. We've been pushing them away for so long.
Yeah.
Aspects of ourselves from our youth, anger, upsetness, sadness, hurt, pain, that and they're buried, and we don't know it. A lot of us, for the most part, we're ignorant of them. I was that way. And then they come up, in this kind of work. See, this is like flushing out going into the attic that we haven't been into in a long time. Whether you know it or not, intellectually, whether, this is what this work does. This is exactly what it did for me. It's like being present in a group, having the sobering truth. We're all speaking it really well right now. And that flushes out all of the cobwebs and all the dark spots and all the scary parts of that dark attic or basement or whatever you want to call it. And then, it doesn't happen overnight, but it is something that I have seen happen many, many times, and happened in my own case, where you just accept it, and those are our little flaws. Those are our disenfranchised parts of ourselves that are stuck in those attics, or in those basements, where with the more light we let in, the more they are empowered and enabled to come into the broad daylight, and you open in the curtains, and then they're seeing that it's okay to come out.
Yeah.
And there's some pain involved in that. There is, because it's like waking up and you're stiff, and they've been shoved in the corners for so long, but when they,
great metaphor.
When they come out, though, they are glad to be there, truly, truly.